Spray Lock Nation, another glorious day here in Chattanooga, Tennessee, where I've got my pretty much always friend here. Occasionally we've not had him here. We've had other glamorous people step in. We've had a monkey once.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. But today I want to talk about the most of the bane of my existence in the QC world, testing concrete. But you know, it's the last thing that happens to a truck before it arrives. Should be the last thing that happens to a truck before it arrives on a job site.
Yep.
But it's also, you know, it's that final rinse, kind of like when you're in a clothes washer. Get that final rinse, you got to get it done before you start spinning everything up and making everything ready for the end result. But the wash rack.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the wash rack, notice we didn't call it a slump rack. It's a wash rack. The wash rack serves a purpose.
Please never call it a slump rack.
Yeah.
Just, I know some people who try to eyeball their slumps way too many times on there, but it is too.
That's the issue is that you imagine this, you submit a concrete mix for a project and the engineer has, for a reason, the engineer has got a maximum water to cement ratio that is required for that particular project. He's doing that because, or she is doing that because they want a certain amount of durability or other reasons. Right. And so you load a truck through the plant where you have control of all your ingredients and all your water and admixtures and everything, and then it goes to the wash rack, which is a necessary thing, especially with dry batch plants. It does serve a purpose because you gotta wash the rocks off the fenders and things like that. You don't want rocks flying off and hitting people's windshields. If you get stuff caked up in the hopper, you want to get it washed.
You want to get it down so you're getting your mix right.
But you want to keep the water added to the mix to a minimum. And often what's going to happen, or what I've heard in my career, is you get a driver that he looks at the load and he sees it and he thinks to himself, well, I know where I'm going. This concrete finisher that I've known for years loves his concrete on a 7-inch slump.
Right.
But the specific job that he's placing's got a 4-inch max or a 5-inch max slump.
Darn test man's going to slump it and get all over you for it.
Right, but the driver wants to do a good job and he wants that customer to be happy. Right. So he gets it up to a 7 on the rack. Yep. Visual 7, which could be an 8 or a 9, depending on how skilled they are.
How calibrated his eyes are.
Exactly. So then he goes to the job. Job's been going great all morning, and the test guy gets his wheelbarrow, and you know as soon as it comes out the chute, you know that, oh, something happened.
I will say, of all the jobs, and I've seen plenty of them, you know, where I've been at the batch plants and we're writing down, you can you know, here's your max water cement ratio, you can add this many gallons and that's it.
Yes.
And you get a driver out there throwing 30 gallons in, which is blowing it out. By the time you get to the job site, you got nothing you can add to. But I will tell you a funny story on somebody who hit at the wash rack. So I was on a job, and they weren't looking at the maximum water cement ratio, but they did have a spec slump. Mm-hmm. And I can walk it up, and the driver's there, and it was not your company, but he's backing in to pour the slab, and he looks at me and goes, "What are you doing?" I'm like, I'm about to test your concrete. He goes, "You can't test my concrete." I'm like, "Wait, what?" He goes, "They didn't tell us there was going to be a test man here. We've been hitting it hard on the wash rack. This thing's wet, and we can't do this." Do what? He goes, "Well, we know what the finisher wanted, so that's what we brought out here."
Yep.
Now, the finisher didn't buy that concrete.
Yep.
The GC bought that concrete. That was an interesting conversation to have had, because he got on the radio, was like, "You better start sending them back. We got a slump guy out here."
Yeah. You don't want those kind of surprises. Those kind of surprises cost money. So
now we want to make the job fun, but that is not a fun that you're looking for. You want to make it as easy for everybody as possible. You know, the test guy's out there for a reason. He's trying to make sure everything is being done by spec, done by code, and the owner, again, is getting what he wants. And, you know, so while they get a lot of grief for many reasons, one shouldn't be that the driver wetted up when the QC guy's trying to set it and the test man's trying to make sure it's being right. That wash rack can create huge issues.
One of the best investments that the company made that I worked for the last 3 or 4 years that I was there, they invested in meters for the wash rack hoses, so that if water had to be added, then the driver could keep up with how many gallons was going in the load and then inform the batch guy. That was the system we had. Remember, going back to our first or second video, planning. Yes. The system we had was to radio dispatch and let them know, hey, I put 10 gallons or 15 gallons on that load while washing down. You may want to adjust your water, make sure, double check me, make sure I'm not going over the water cement ratio, et cetera. So little things like that can make a huge difference. Again, the drivers are our number one, your drivers are your number one asset for any concrete company. Spending time to train them well, spending time to make sure that they know the importance of controlling slump and other things is an investment that you'll never be ashamed that you made.
And just to be clear, as a test man, early in my career, I was privileged enough to have a lot of really good truck drivers, and quite a few worked at Brent's company. That if I said, look, it cannot come over a 4, I didn't have to worry the rest of the day. I would slump them, but they would be dead on a 4 or just underneath it. I didn't have to worry about it. So you do have a lot of really good, nicely trained drivers who will not, use that wash rack for the wrong reasons. They use it for the right reasons, to just wash out and not over water the mix.
Now, I will tell you, as we wrap up this video, I will tell you, to all you folks that work in concrete quality control that are watching the video, I understand how frustrating it is to every winter lose half your driving crew and then have to retrain new ones in the spring. You gotta do it. You gotta spend the time to get that training right, because you don't want a bunch of rookies ruining your concrete. So it is painful to spend that much time training, but it is an investment that will pay off in spades.
Thank you. Like, subscribe, and again, if you got any questions, let us know. If you're wonderful desire to learn more about the wash rack, please contact Brent. His email and phone number is below, and we'll be more than happy to let him answer those questions. But
Thank
until
you so
next time,
much.
we'll see you again.